Welcome back to another episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. So, I'm scrolling social media today and I see a post that I've seen a ton of times. And honestly, I've probably even said more times than I've seen that why would somebody spend money on an iPhone and not on personal development? Or somebody will drop this kind of money for these things, but won't drop it for these things. And how do we change that? And it really started this discussion about priorities. And it is about priorities. And it's also about perception. And I want to dig into that for just a little bit because I think that so many times we look at someone and we say, well, duh, personal development is obviously worth it. But how do we know what they think is worth it? I'm so excited to dig into this topic with you. Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast, where we discuss finding fulfillment, defining success, and living your best life. There's no roadmap to success, no one-size-fits-all answer to fulfillment. I believe it requires us all to be vulnerable and authentic about what we want to accomplish and have the courage to step out of our comfort zone to chase our dreams. Keep listening to hear stories from inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day. So before we jump into this topic, if you are someone that you know has ever said the words, I'll be happy when, I just need to keep losing weight, keep working hard, keep building my career, and then I'll be happy. If you've ever felt like you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and yet life isn't turning out the way that you expected, if it seems like something's missing, yet everybody in your life is telling you how successful you are, then the Design Your Life Mastermind is for you. The most powerful question anybody ever asked me is, what does success mean to you? And as I've explored this topic with my podcast guests and trying to answer that for myself, I realized that we don't answer and ask that question enough for each and every single one of us. The Design Your Life Mastermind is designed to help you understand what success means to you, to help you be able to define and design what your perfect life looks like, and then be able to build out that blueprint and action plan so that you can then surround yourself with people who give you the courage to step out of your comfort zone to live the vision that you've just created. The reality is, we get to create our success. We get to create what our perfect life looks like. And why would we ever want to create that and then not live it? You owe it to yourself to live that life that you've designed, and the Design Your Life Mastermind is a way to do that. If this sounds like something that you or someone that you know needs in your life, head over to designyourlife.morethancorporate.com and schedule a call so that we can see if we are a good fit to work together. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this topic. So, it's easy to drop $1,000 on a phone. Why wouldn't you drop $1,000 on personal development? It's easy to drop $300 getting your hair done. Why wouldn't you drop $300 on personal development? And the answer to all of these questions really comes down to value. One of my favorite books is Never Split the Difference by Chris Foss. And he talks so much about value in there. He talks about how money really isn't the real objection. It's the presenting problem. But as we talk about in NLP all the time, the problem's never the problem. That first objection that you get from someone is never actually what's going on. We get to dig a little bit deeper to understand really what the objections are. It's the same with this concept. It's not that somebody doesn't want to grow. It's not that somebody is intentionally throwing their money away and skirting their personal development and personal growth. It's that they haven't been put in a situation where they understand the value. It could also be some self sabotage stuff. It could also be, some other things going on. But the real important thing to think about is that it's not, oh, you'll spend money on this, but not on this. What's wrong with you? It's, how do we help you understand the value? And the answer to that is by helping them expand their perception. I have my business coach. I've been working with her now for almost 18 months. And the monthly cost for her services, I never would have paid because it was completely outrageous to me to think that it was worth it to invest in myself. It took a lot of small baby steps, conferences, trainings, hearing from other people how they had benefited from this, watching other people grow, and then just that feeling inside where you just get so sick of your current circumstances that you finally decide that it's time to do something to change that. One of the things that we hear so much in the personal development space is find somebody who has what you have or what you want to have and learn from them. Let them teach you how they got it. And so many times we don't know what we want. We don't know where to look for who has what we want because we're operating under this misguided perception that certain things are going to make us happy when they won't. And we can talk about this until we're blue in the face. The reality is that we are never going to know that those things don't make us happy until we either get to them or we keep working towards them and realize that they're unattainable. I was talking to somebody about my I'll be happy when moment, which you guys know from prior episodes was a 6-figure income and a law degree. And I defined success, or I described success to this person as this pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. Do you remember as a kid when somebody would say to you that there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and you're like, okay, let's go try it. But no matter how hard you tried, you could never find the end of that rainbow because it's an illusion, right? It's reflection of light and it never really ends. So chasing success, chasing that I'll be happy when moment is the same thing. People are along on different parts of their journey along finding this idea out that success doesn't exist at the end of an accomplishment. True, depending on how you define success, success itself of yes, I accomplished this could exist at the end of that accomplishment. If you're looking at the true definition of did you accomplish the goal that you set out to accomplish? But do you feel successful? Is it what you want? Does it bring you the fulfillment that you thought it was going to bring you? In that aspect of success, that's never the end of an accomplishment. It is always that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that you just keep chasing, unless you take the time to step back and expand your perception and think, what do I really want? Not what am I chasing because I think it's going to bring me something that I don't have, but why am I making every action that I'm making? So tying this back into this idea of why are some people willing to spend money on things that seem irrelevant and they're not willing to spend money on things that can change their life? The answer is they don't know those things can change their life. It's really what it comes down to. They've never been exposed to the value of those things. And this is where investing in yourself becomes really important. This is where getting out of your comfort zone becomes really important. This is where allowing you to question what you believe becomes really important. In the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, Mark Manson has a chapter where he talks about people are trying so hard to find out who they are. And in his mind, you should never know who you are. You should always be questioning and always be wondering, because as soon as you know who you are, you become stagnant. So we spend our lives trying to figure out who we are, what we want to be, and what we want to accomplish. And at some point in time, we realize that it's a journey and that there's no accomplishment at the end. It's this series of choices and decisions that lead us down different paths. And that's all this idea of understanding the value of things comes down to. Also, understanding that your idea of valuable isn't somebody else's idea of valuable. It is true that maybe they're not ready to change their life yet. Maybe they're not ready to take those steps. Maybe there's some things that they are still working on dealing with from the limiting beliefs that have been imprinted on them throughout their lives and the decisions that they've made of what they deserve and what they're capable of. All of those things play in to why somebody says no to things that will ultimately benefit them. So what can we do? First of all, we can always be questioning our beliefs. We can always be questioning where we're at, what we think is important. This is why reading is so important. This is why surrounding yourself with people who are really pushing themselves out of their comfort zone is so important, because they expand your perception of what's possible. We can also be really patient with those around us. Never underestimate the power of planting seeds to someone. And I'm not hating on this meme, because I absolutely love it. And it's necessary in certain situations. It's necessary to kind of push somebody out of their own way, to get so ridiculous, to help them understand that this is $1,000 and this is $1,000, and which one is more valuable to you and why. But sometimes they're not ready to hear it. Sometimes they're not ready to take that action, and we need to dial it down a little bit. So if we really want to help people get to the point where they can drop $1,000 on a personal development conference or on coaching or on whatever that is, then we get to dial them back and help them understand the baby steps. And talking about how they're just not making good choices isn't always the best way to do it. It's not always about good or bad choices. It's about what choices are we making because of what we think is valuable, and how do we change that perception of what we think is valuable. So I would encourage you guys, both for yourself and for the people around you that you love, to constantly be questioning your decisions, to constantly be questioning what you find valuable, to constantly be expanding your perception through the people that you hang out with, or reading or podcasts, or whatever that looks like for you. And constantly be wondering, why am I making the decisions that I'm making? What's the purpose of this? What do I hope to accomplish out of this? With every single thing that we invest in, whether it's a piece of equipment like a phone, or a personal development conference, or a retreat, or a book, whatever that is, we should always have an objective of what we want to get out of that. And then really questioning, is this going to give us that? If I invest in X, is it going to give me Y? And if not, then what will? Dropping these seeds are so important for the people around you. So never quit dropping seeds. Just understand that all we can do is drop seeds and then be there for them when they're ready. I hope that this topic is valuable to you. I'd love to dig into this a little bit more. So if you want to talk about this more, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me at the More Than Corporate Facebook group that recently changed to Success Center. It's still facebook.com/group/more than corporate, but the name of the group is now Success Center. It's full of amazing people that are just doing everything that they can to live their best life. And we have conversations like this all the time. You can head over there to connect with me, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. Always remember, guys, that we have the ability to define our best life. You get to design the blueprint of what your perfect life looks like, and you owe it to yourself to get out of your comfort zone to live it. I hope that you have a fantastic day. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the show. I hope that something that was said resonated with you or provided value to you in one way or another. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on the show. You can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram at Amber Fuhriman. Also, I've created a Facebook community for followers of the show to interact with me and other members of the community. You can find that on Facebook at More Than Corporate. So go ahead and join that group if you'd like to stay up to date on podcast happenings and meet some really cool people. Again, thanks so much for tuning in.